You pray, you fast, you weep in secret, but the heavens feel like they're made of bronze. Dealing with unanswered prayers is, without a doubt, one of the most silent and frustrating pains in the Christian walk. Our logical mind tells us that if God is silent, it must mean He has rejected us, forgotten us, or that our problem is too big. But in the kingdom system, God's silence is never a sign of abandonment. Often, it is a sign of redirection. The secret when you knock on a door and it doesn't open is not to pound harder until your hands bleed. The secret is something else. Change your posture. When you understand the difference between being a victim of the waiting season and being a spiritual strategist, you discover the key to prospering in God's will, even when everything around you looks like total scarcity. Welcome. My name is Your Name, and here we decode the divine systems that transform your chaos into purpose. The important question. I want you to be honest in the comments today. Is there an area of your life where you are facing God's silence right now? What is the prayer you feel has not been heard? Right below, God is silent in my marriage, finances, ministry. If you are tired of praying without direction and want to learn how to align yourself with heaven, subscribe to the channel now. Leave a like, because what we're about to reveal today will break the weight of anxiety over your future. We were taught to measure God's love by how quickly He delivers what we ask for. That mindset creates a generation of anxious and frustrated Christians. When we face unanswered prayers, the first human reaction is murmuring or paralysis. We cross our arms and say, "If God isn't going to do it my way, then I won't do anything at all." But you need to understand, God is not a genie in a lamp. He is a sovereign Father. Many times, He allows your prayer to fall into silence because what you are asking for would destroy you, or because the blessing you want requires a structure you don't yet have. Unanswered prayers are the furnace where your character is forged. God is not only interested in changing your circumstances, He is interested in changing you. To prosper in God's will, you must accept that His will includes pauses, deserts, and closed doors. The closed door is not punishment, it is protection. Silence is not absence, it is God working behind the scenes, preparing a scenario your mind does not yet have the capacity to understand. If the door did not open, don't force it. Change your posture. Stop asking why God didn't do it, and start asking what He is doing right now. To understand the impact of a changed posture in the spiritual realm, pay attention to this pattern. There was a devastating drought in Israel. The sky was shut. Thousands were dealing with unanswered prayers for rain. In a foreign town called Zarephath, a poor and vulnerable widow was gathering sticks to cook her last meal and then die with her son. She had already accepted the end. Suddenly, the prophet Elijah, a foreigner with a heavy, imposing presence, appears and asks her for the impossible, her last portion of water and bread. By logic, she should have driven him away. But notice the shift. The vulnerable widow handed her last handful of flour to a stranger, and the next morning an inexhaustible source of provision changed the destiny of her household forever. What happened here? The miracle did not begin when she prayed for rain. The miracle began when she changed her posture. She left the posture of victim waiting for death and assumed the posture of provider for the prophet. She aligned herself with God's will, which was to sustain Elijah through her. When she took care of God's will, God took care of her house. That is the secret to prospering in God's will. Sometimes your miracle is hidden in the seed you refuse to release because you are too focused on what is missing. The widow stopped focusing on the rain that wasn't falling and focused on the flour she still had. So practically speaking, what does change your posture mean? Step out of the beggar's posture and assume the son's. Beggars ask for handouts, sons access inheritance. When you face unanswered prayers, do not crawl. Lift your head. If the Father said no or wait, it is because something superior exists within His will. Worship Him for the no with the same intensity you would worship Him for the yes. Replace anxiety with alignment. If the job door did not open, instead of panicking, ask, "Lord, what skill do I need to develop in this season?" Change your posture from someone who only waits for the future to someone who builds in the present. Start serving in your pain. Do you want to prosper in God's will? Heal someone while you are bleeding. The widow fed the prophet while her son was hungry. If you want God to move heaven on your behalf, start moving on behalf of someone worse off than you. When you shift from needy to channel of blessing, The heavens open automatically. The posture that attracts God's attention is absolute surrender. It is saying, "Lord, if your will is silence right now, then I will learn to listen to your silence." Many confuse prosperity with ease. But the true biblical definition of prospering in God's will is continuing to bear fruit even when the land is dry. It is having peace in the middle of chaos. It is sleeping peacefully in the storm because you know who is in the boat. When you finally decide to change your posture, the weight of unanswered prayers disappears.
Why?
Because your will has been swallowed up by the Father's will. You no longer suffer because you didn't buy the car or because the business was delayed. You understand that God's will is good, perfect, and pleasing. The enemy wants you focused on what God did not do so that you develop bitterness, offense, and spiritual coldness. The devil paralyzes thousands of Christians through the frustration of broken expectations. But when you lift your hands in the desert and say, "I trust your delays," you break the backbone of hell. You become unshakable. Divine prosperity is a state of mind before it is a state of your bank account. It is the certainty that nothing can ultimately go wrong for the one who stands at the center of the Creator's plan. I do not know what kind of silence you are facing today. I do not know which diagnosis frightened you or which door slammed in your face. But I am here to deliver a direct instruction from heaven. Stop fighting God's timing. Change your posture. Do not allow unanswered prayers to steal your identity as a son. The Creator knows exactly what He is doing. Your job is not to dictate how God should work. Your job is to remain surrendered so you can prosper in His will, no matter the cost. I'm going to ask you to take a prophetic action right now, wherever you are. Close your eyes for a second, release control over the situation that is stealing your sleep, and hand it back to God. Let's register this decision in the comments. If you are willing to change how you position yourself in the face of pain, declare by writing, "I surrender my will to prosper in God's will." By typing this, you are establishing a commitment with heaven. If this message touched your spirit and brought light into your darkness, subscribe to the channel. Become part of this army that knows how to fight with spiritual weapons. Leave a like and share this video with someone who is desperate for an answer from God. Stay at peace. Adjust your posture. And trust the process. See you in the next video.